In this video, we will show you how to replace your EGR tube on this Honda Civic. This will be located along the front of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We're going to make our way safely down along the front of the engine. Of course, the EGR tube is part of the exhaust. You want to make sure that it's not hot to the touch. You can see part of that EGR tube up near the top, and you can follow it all the way down along the side of the catalytic converter, down towards the bottom flange there. Now for the removal of the EGR tube, we're going to start with the lower hardware. I like to make my way right along this area where our hood latch is. Go ahead and tilt that over towards the driver's side. We'll continue on with a 12mm swivel and several extensions. Now as for this mounting hardware, ours looks as though it's been replaced. Typically, there should be studs that make their way up from the bottom leading up, and a 12mm nut up along the top. On this one in particular, it looks as though there's bolts and nuts, so I'm going to have to hold the bottom area while I continue removing the top. Alright. Just a quick inspection of the hardware as you continue on, replace as necessary. Now, like I said, there should be studs here. The stud would be coming up through this way, and then up along the top of this area would be a 12mm headed nut. Let's go ahead and remove that other bolt now. Okay, this one on my application does not have a nut on the bottom side there, so we don't have to worry about that. Now there will be a gasket in between the tube and the exhaust pipe. We can remove that once the tube is being removed. So let's pause at the bottom and make our way up to the upper mounting point. We should be able to lift this up and out of here. There it is, friend. The next thing we have to do is clean our mounting surfaces. Really what we're paying attention to is confirming that we do not have any pre-existing gaskets or damage to the mounting surfaces. Just going to give this a quick wipe, close inspection here, confirming that nothing's damaged in any way. We don't want to have an exhaust leak there. That's the upper point. Let's make our way all the way down along that bottom area. If you find you need to, you can use some fine sandpaper to lightly scuff this area. This looks fine, so let's continue on. Okay friend, let's prepare to install the brand new EGR tube. In your kit, you're going to find it came with two brand new gaskets. The first gasket that we want to pay attention to is the one for the lower flange. This is the smaller of the two flanges and the smaller of the two gaskets. Now, if you were looking at that smaller gasket, you're going to find that it has 4 locking ears. They're flexible, so if you need to, you can flex them in or out as necessary. The reason for those locking tabs is they need to fit around the EGR tube and hold in position. Now that we have our gasket in place, the next thing we have to do is bring our EGR tube down along the front of the engine, aligning it with the lower flange. Typically, you're going to have 2 studs making their way up from this flange. You want to make sure that we have the EGR tube sitting over those with the gasket in between the 2 flanges. Now, since my vehicle does not have those 2 studs, I'm going to at least start in my 2 lower bolts. We are not going to tighten any hardware at this time. With the lower hardware started in, it's time for the upper hardware. We have the larger of our two gaskets. This is for the upper portion here. We'll just try to get everything properly aligned. Starting our mounting bolt here. Got the gasket in between the two flanges, of course. Mine slid out of place. Now on my application, since I do have to have a lower mounting nut on here, I'm also going to start that on. At this point, we're clear to snug these up, and we'll torque all of our hardware to 16 foot-pounds. Okay, those lower ones are snug. Let's torque those to 16 foot-pounds. There we are. Just double check down here, confirming you did torque each of those. We'll make our way all the way up to the upper mounting hardware. Let's get this tight. Okay, friend, we finished our installation. The next thing you need to do is just double check to make sure you've torqued everything as necessary. Start up the vehicle, make sure there's no exhaust leaks, and take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.